All warfare is based on deception. Or maybe this one. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. Hmm. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into one of history's most, well, profound and enduring texts, Sun Tzu's The Art of War. And our mission here, it isn't just about looking back at ancient battles. Not at all. It's really about pulling out these timeless principles, strategy, leadership, even, human nature that you can actually use far beyond the battlefield. Like in your daily decisions, your job, personal projects. We're using excerpts here from Lionel Giles's classic 1910 translation, a really seminal work. So I guess the big question is, what can a text written thousands of years ago about war teach us today? About navigating, well, modern life? About being a better leader? Or maybe even how to strategically, avoid conflict?
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? I mean, The Art of War is literally the oldest military treatise in the world. And the fact that it's still so relevant after all this time, that's what's truly remarkable. Like you said, it's not just how-to for fighting. It's much bigger, a whole philosophy. Sun Tzu really emphasizes meticulous preparation, knowing yourself deeply, understanding your opponent, and crucially, often avoiding that direct clash if you possibly can. He lays out these 5 constant factors that he argues govern the art of war. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, and method and discipline. It's like a foundational framework, really, for thinking about any strategic challenge.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack those, because I think this is where you really see how it applies to, well, almost anything. Sun Tzu kicks things off by saying, the art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. I mean, that sets the stakes pretty high right away. He's basically saying, pay attention, this stuff matters.
Yeah.
Then he brings in those 5 factors from chapter 1, which, as you said, feel like a powerful way to diagnose any situation. So first, there's moral law. This is about alignment, why people follow their leader, even regardless of their lives, undismayed by any danger. It's that shared purpose,
Yeah.
unity. Then heaven, that sounds grand, but it's about the environment, right? Night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. You could think of it today as like external forces you can't control. Market trends, maybe,
Yeah.
economic climate.
Exactly. The big picture context. And
Yeah.
then Earth is the physical landscape. Distances, danger, security, the type of ground you're on.
Yeah.
In modern terms, that's your operating environment. The competitive field, supply chains, physical locations, that sort of thing.
Makes sense.
And the last 2, the commander and method and discipline, are just as critical. The commander represents the leader's qualities. Wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, strictness. So leadership capability, basically. And finally, method and discipline. This covers your organization, ranks, supply lines, controlling costs. It's your operational side, your internal structure, your processes, how you manage resources.
Okay, so if you're facing, let's say, a big challenge could be launching a product, a tricky negotiation, even just planning a major life event, how do these 5 factors give you a kind of checklist? It's not just for generals, is it? It feels like a way to look at any situation comprehensively, to maybe spot problems before you start.
That's precisely it. And what's really insightful is how Sun Tzu then connects this to prediction. He says a general who gets these 5 factors, and this is key, compares them against the opponent across 7 different considerations. Well, that general can forecast victory or defeat. He's asking, who has the moral law? Who's got the better general? Who has the advantages of heaven and earth? Better discipline, stronger army, better training, more consistent rewards and punishments. The big takeaway here is that success isn't just brute force. It's about understanding this whole interconnected system. It's about systematically checking all these variables to see the likely outcome. Really powerful.
Yeah, it really is. And speaking of variables, let's shift to something super practical, something that maybe gets ignored when we're, excited about a goal. The sheer cost of conflict. Chapter 2 really brings this home. It's quite sobering. Sun Tzu talks about needing 1,000 ounces of silver per day for a 100,000-man army, and he includes details like guest entertainment, glue, paint, armor. It makes these ancient costs feel surprisingly, well, relatable. He lists the evils of war, weapons getting dull, spirits flagging, strength running out, treasure spent. It's a clear warning, isn't it, that the state's resources get drained, leaving it open to attack from others. And that quote is just so stark. There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. Wow.
It's a really stark warning. And if we dig into that a bit more, it's clear he doesn't just mean money. Long campaigns, he says, lead to widespread poverty, heavy taxes on the people, income just vanishing. He even puts numbers on it: 3/10 of personal income, 4/10 of government revenue, gone. But Sun Tzu, ever the pragmatist, he offers a solution. It might sound harsh, but it shows strategic thinking about resources, foraging on the enemy. He points out very shrewdly that one cartload of enemy supplies is worth 20 of your own, which really hammers home the point that quick victory has to be the great object, not getting bogged down in lengthy campaigns. So the commander carrying this huge weight, they are the arbiter of the people's fate, the one who decides if the nation is at peace or in peril. It's a profound level of responsibility.
Absolutely. Which leads us to maybe one of the most famous and kind of counterintuitive ideas in the whole book, winning without fighting. This is where it gets really interesting for me. He says, to take the enemy's country whole and intact, to shatter and destroy it is not so good. That just flips the script, doesn't it? Away from pure destruction towards strategic finesse. The highest form, the supreme excellence, is breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. And he even ranks strategies. Best is attacking the enemy's plans directly, then disrupting their alliances, then fighting them in the field. And the absolute worst option, laying siege to walled cities. He describes sieges so vividly, months just to prepare, months more for siege rams, maybe a third of your men killed, and the city might still not fall. It's clearly the last most inefficient resort.
Right. Which raises the obvious question. How do you win without a battle? Sun Tzu calls it attacking by stratagem. It's about using subtle, indirect moves, things that leave your own forces strong but achieve total victory without losing anyone. And maybe the biggest aha moment in the text is this idea. The victorious strategist only seeks battle after the victory has been won. Now, that sounds paradoxical, but it's not about being weak or avoiding fights. It's about preparing so thoroughly, positioning yourself so perfectly, that your opponent is already strategically beaten before the fighting starts. Defeat becomes almost impossible for him. And this all comes together in that incredibly famous line, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Quote, if you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. I mean, that's pretty much the ultimate strategic checklist for any competitive situation, isn't it?
It really is. Just invaluable wisdom packed into one sentence. And it leads us perfectly into the whole idea of deception and adaptability, being dynamic. He says it flat out. All warfare is based on deception. Now, this isn't about being, morally bankrupt. It's calculated strategy. It gives examples, right? Appear weak when you're strong. Appear inactive when you're making a move. Make the enemy think you're far off when you're actually close. Lure them with bait. Pretend to be disorganized to draw them out. And he adds this fascinating layer. Simulated disorder postulates perfect discipline. Simulated fear postulates courage. Simulated weakness postulates strength. So it's all a performance, a carefully managed appearance that's the exact opposite of the reality underneath. Then he talks about direct and indirect attacks, describing them as inexhaustible as heaven and earth, like rivers flowing, like the sun and moon, the seasons. He even uses analogies like the 5 musical notes, or 5 colors, or 5 tastes, how they create endless combinations. It's about infinite variety in your approach.
Exactly. And what's key here is that it's not just a collection of tricks. It's about constantly changing your plans based on what's happening, reflecting that core idea that there are no constant conditions in war or in any complex situation, really. He calls it the divine art of subtlety and secrecy, making yourself sort of invisible and inaudible so you can control the enemy's fate. And the analogy of water is so powerful. Water runs away from high places and hastens downwards. So in war, the way is to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. And crucially, water shapes its course according to the nature of the ground, so in warfare there are no constant conditions. It just screams adaptability, extreme flexibility. It's about deeply understanding the situation and molding your strategy to fit it. He even goes into detail about different terrains accessible, entangling, narrow passes, high ground, and the specific tactics to reach. One size definitely does not fit all.
Yeah, that adaptability piece feels so relevant today. So with all this complex strategy, deception, constant change, the human element, the leadership, and the discipline must be absolutely